Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Nighttime Benders, powered by The Source, your favorite place to catch up with Central Oregon's favorite funny faces. We are back with another bonus episode. Our team pulled this episode because it's such a great episode for people who might be thinking about getting into the world of comedy to listen to. We were able to chat with Raj Suresh. He's going to be coming to town. He's currently based in New York City. He's also co-founder of the Big Diamond Comedy Festival in Bentonville, Arkansas, which he's going to talk about in the interview. And his perspective on working comedy in a small market and big market and the value of festivals, I think is invaluable for anybody who is looking to get into this field. So please enjoy this conversation with the amazing and hilarious Raj Suresh.
I don't know Ben had that many festival scenes, but I'm going to pick your brain here on how to develop ours a little bit more.
Yeah, we do a lot of festivals from May to September around every different theme. We have like a hot air balloon festival. We have like
Beautiful.
A little gnome drinking festival. We have bike festivals, everything. Like, we just want you to come and spend your tourism dollars in Bend. That's the primary goal.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, I guess I'll start at where I should have started, but sure. If you could introduce yourself for people that might not be familiar with you and your work.
Sure, yeah, my name's Raj Suresh. I am a New York-based comedian, but I originally began my comedy career in Northwest Arkansas in a little place called Bentonville, and then started out there, moved to Cleveland, moved to New York. COVID happened, so I moved back, and then moved back to the city again. So I've really sort of traversed the U.S. a fair amount, but the Pacific Northwest and just the Northwest of America in general remains kind of a blank spot. I've gone to like Seattle and Tacoma, but really haven't explored Oregon at all. And so I'm really excited to come to Bend. It seems very pretty, a great excuse for me to kind of also bring my fiance with me and do a bit of a vacation and do some comedy.
Yeah, it is a beautiful resort town. What do you guys like to do when you travel? I love giving local recommendations.
Yeah, she likes things like hiking and skiing, and I like sitting in one place and not moving very much. So we're very, I will go hiking on this one.
Yeah.
I've heard it's just very picturesque and beautiful, and I have friends that live in the state, and they all recommend, kind of getting out and seeing nature.
Yeah, we have great nature. If people like water, you're still going to be here when it's warm enough. We have a great river float where you don't you get to just sit in a tube. It's really a good combination for the both of you. She gets nature, you get to sit. And then we have great breweries and a fantastic food scene, surprisingly, for the size town that we are. Yeah, that's the nice thing about a resort town is you get like kind of the cream of the crop of the big city. It just takes 6 hours to get here.
Yeah, Northwest Arkansas is weirdly like that too. It's in the center of the country. Walmart is headquartered there, so we have really good food and a lot of transplants, but it's also the natural state, right? So we've got the Ozarks, tubing is a thing. Mountain biking is kind of what people come there for, but it's also got a burgeoning arts scene as well. So I'm excited to check out Bend. It's obviously a lot bigger, and I think it'll have more to offer.
Yeah. Can we talk a little bit about the differences between working in a small market and working in a big market? I don't think a lot of comedians have that experience. Like, what are the pros and cons of both?
Yeah, I think when you start in a small spot, a lot of what you need to do is produce your own shows. So that's a muscle you build. And I think, you learn relatively quickly that there is a world of stand-up, but it's a safe place to fail. It's not like you're going up in a room in front of some real like killers, and that can kind of extinguish a flame pretty quickly for a lot of folks if, they're getting on stage with some really, really strong comics, and you just see the gap between you and them as a first-year comic and they're 10 years in. So I always count my stars, or I don't know if that's the right phrase, but I count myself lucky for having started in a smaller scene and then going to Cleveland, which is like a much bigger scene, but it's still not New York. So I felt like I had the opportunity to sort of train upwards. And so, yeah. And I think the downsides are, as you would expect, right? Like, you do tap out of the potential opportunities when you're in a smaller space. There's not necessarily agencies looking at you or managers or film and TV. And like some of that has changed with the advent of social media. Like the climate I began in 10 years ago is very different to now. So, and also like when you start in a big scene, there is a lot of learning just via osmosis where you pick up good habits and maybe some bad ones from other comics that are, further along than you are.
Yeah, I really like where I've worked in LA and Vegas and I've toured, and I really like working in Bend, which is like 130,000 people.
Okay.
Because our scene is very small. So anytime
Hmm.
you want to get on stage, people are just happy to have you. They're like, oh, thank
That's
you for
amazing.
coming out. But then it's a big enough town that you have audiences
Right.
and they change over enough that you can retell a few jokes.
Good.
Yeah, exactly. So even if you're here for the weekend, if you tell a joke or two, you'll probably have different people. You'll be fine.
Right. Right.
Yeah, I was doing a little digging around and you mentioned, but
Hmm.
you are one of the founders. Is it the Big Diamond Comedy
Yeah,
Festival? Is that what it's called?
that
What
is.
made, what inspired you to start something like that in your hometown?
I did 6 festivals this one year, and I looked around and I was like, well, I'm not getting paid for any of this. None of my costs are getting covered, but I'm playing in front of some pretty decently sized rooms. And so I called up Sam and I was like, it feels like we can do better than this. And so the we kind of took some, a bit of a personal gamble and on the city of Bentonville as well, and went, look, we will cover your entire housing for 3 days straight if you're a comic that gets into this festival, and we'll pay you for your spots, and we'll do our best to draw a crowd out and make it good and bring some industry in. And so, like, and for me, there's a bit of a personal love affair with the city of Bentonville. I like it down there. I have friends down there. And so a festival allows people to discover it, much in the same way that, I don't know if Bend, Oregon was on the map for me to travel to until the festival came along. I'm excited, A, to come to Bend, but B, also, it sounds like the headliners that they've got, slated are folks that I really enjoy. So like I know like Jeff Asmus is on the lineup. Fahim Anwar, I've never worked with him. I've watched his comedy for a long time. And then I think Christina Mariani's on it as well. So it should be a fun time in Bend.
Yeah, I think one of the great things about our little market is that we do get surprisingly good talent coming through here.
Yeah.
If you do tour the Pacific Northwest, we're one of the only stops between Portland and Boise. You don't
Okay.
have a whole lot of other markets, or if you're going down to Eugene, like Olson Run, we're kind of the next city over. So it's a nice place to stop. We do a lot of like Wednesday shows, Thursday shows here in
Nice.
town because
Okay.
people are like heading to bigger markets.
Ah, okay. So it's like a logistical tour stop for a lot of folks.
Yeah, we also have an amazing amphitheater here that's a Live Nation venue. So we
Okay.
get with like Trevor Noah's coming later this month and Nikki
Oh, wow.
Glazer. So we get like all the same it's a surprisingly thriving scene. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I bet when the weather's good, it's probably gorgeous out there.
Yes, we live in heaven when the weather is gorgeous. I mean, I'm sure it's very similar to where you are, but weather makes such a big difference because the weather here can also be really brutal.
Yeah. No, I mean, I live in New York. Aside from the comedy festival in
Yeah.
Arkansas, I'm not there a whole lot, but like New York weather is so temperamental.
Mm.
2 days ago, it was like 100+ degrees. It's raining right now. So back and forth, like 50-degree temperature swings in the matter of 48 hours.
Yeah, I lived in New York for a short time when I was like 18, and I remember the summer months, like the city just came with a smell.
Yes. Yeah. It
Yeah, it
comes
just,
alive in the worst ways.
yes, exactly. It's like everything, yeah,
It's
it
like
starts growing.
whatever's been lying dormant over the winter in the subways just all springs to life. And you smell all the flora and fauna and gut bacteria and whatever else people are leaving on the tracks.
Exactly, exactly. That's one nice thing about getting out to the country is you get fresh air. You'll get fresh air out here. Are you doing any other Oregon stops while you're here? Or are you just hanging out in Bend?
Yeah. So I'm doing a show up in Seattle. So we're doing a couple days in Seattle. I'm doing a
Hmm.
show there, and then I'm potentially doing Portland before Bend, but I don't
Hmm.
know yet. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
I'm, I'm waiting to hear back.
Portland's a fun city. In terms of marketing, I think it's like a great city to sell. It's an easy city to sell. So you
Right.
can get a show there. I've always loved the audiences. They're fun. They're fun people.
It's weird because I have a bit right now it's gone viral a couple times over, and it's
Hmm.
about vegetarianism and veganism and how I don't like cross contamination. And
Hmm.
so it's led to some weird bubbles on my mailing list in cities like Portland, where I guess there's an overabundance of people that ascribe to that way of living, and it's resonated with them. So I'm almost like this. It's an insane joke, and it's. I don't know how clean this podcast is, so I won't repeat it. But it's funny to see where people are tapping into content and how that's driving a tour count.
Yeah, I think that's the great thing about the internet is that it allows you to like grow where you're planted and find audience everywhere that connects with
Right.
you. And for people that might not be familiar with your work, where do
Yeah.
you source most of your humor from? What kind of themes are found in your comedy?
A lot of it is just my life, but I love doing political humor. Some of it and observational stuff, but a lot of it's just my background is that of an immigrant, right? So I came to the U.S. when I was 17, and so everything that I see in the country feels somewhat different to someone that maybe grew up here. And then politically too, I feel pretty somewhat called sounds like a very serious word, but I do feel a need to be somewhat vocal with your art form, especially through the times we're living in. And I think people will have their opinions. There's comics on both sides of the fence. I sit decidedly on the left of it. And so, yeah, there's some of that sneaks into my set as well. But the vast majority of my comedy, I would say, it's a lot of storytelling and stuff about my life and family. And yeah, it's a mixed bag. I don't know if there's a good lane, and I should probably figure that out 10 years in.
Do we ever figure out art? It's like you just kind of just keep evolving, keep doing.
Right.
Um I I remember watching things as like a young performer and being like so critical of the artist because I'm like they could have done this better or they could have had the lighting better or the camera better or the outfit better. And then what you
Right.
realize when you're an artist is you're like they're just fucking doing it.
Yeah.
They're not no, they're not thinking about it that way.
No, and you spend long enough, in this industry, and you realize how many productions are shoestring and like
Hmm.
what that back end looks like. And it's a lot of guys that really like drinking and smoking. And so you're expecting this like A plus plus level of output. Not always realistic unless you're willing to pay for it. And if you know anything about, like what comedians get paid, that's an elusive number. Some of these specials, the numbers that I hear where it's like 50 grand, 80 grand to produce a special, and not even one that ends up on Netflix. Like sometimes that ends up on YouTube. And so, I shot mine for under 5 in Cleveland, and I think it came out good. And I would like to stay under 10 on the next one if I can, but everything's getting more expensive.
Yeah, I watched your special. It was great. You could see,
Thanks.
you could hear, the set was nice. You had great shots of the audience. And, yes, we all would love I like when I see people with cool props, I
Hmm.
get like, I'm like, that's a cool backdrop or that's a cool
Yeah.
prop. But at the end of the day, that's not the jokes.
No, and like for my special, I was supposed to shoot it with the studio, and the guy was running it last second was like, "Oh yeah, we're not gonna get you a stage." And then like some other guys at the studio that I was friends with like scrambled. They like grabbed 2 potted plants from upstairs and a rug and some uplighting, and they're like they made something happen out of basically nothing because otherwise that was gonna be me with a microphone on a flat floor in a black box. So it's very, I don't know, like British comedy or Carlin-esque maybe.
Yeah, it felt like between two ferns.
It was, yeah.
Yeah.
It was between 2 fiddle leaf figs.
Yeah, it was great. It worked just
Yeah.
fine. Yeah, exactly. Like I love that. Like working with what you have. And did producing your own special has that help open any doors or were you more just trying to like dump the material to move on to new stuff?
No, yeah, it's all my first clips that went viral came from that special.
Hmm.
And I took that special and I cold emailed it to the booker at the time for Netflix's A Joke Fest. And I was like, hey, I'm a small comic from Arkansas, I don't have reps. I don't know if there's a route to getting this scene. And he watched it and he was like, actually, I really like this. Would you like to come be part of the fest? So, you know, I think sometimes you just got to take your shot with whatever assets you have to work with. And the true professionals, I think, will never look down upon that. There's certainly a standard to be met. Like when people apply to festivals, we try to be as prescriptive as possible as to, you know, what the baseline is, but also what people are bringing to the table so that you can represent yourself fairly in a competitive pack. So once I had the special, I felt like I could go out and really push that. And then Comedy Dynamics buying it was also helpful.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. If people want to check out your special, where can they see that and find out more about you and see all the tour dates and everything that's
Sure.
coming up?
Yeah, so if you want to watch the special for free, it's on YouTube. But if you want to watch it on your TV, like through an app or whatever, it's available, I think, for purchase on everything, like Apple TV Plus, Prime, Google Play, all that good stuff. But it's for free on YouTube as well. It's called Break the Leg. And tour dates and everything else, it's all at rajdoescomedy.com. So yeah, I'll be crisscrossing America for a little bit.
All right, Raj. Well, we're excited to have you here at the Tower Theater this fall. Is there anything else you would like to say to the podcast audience before you head out today?
No, nothing. You know, if people see me coming through and they have food wrecks, I think you had mentioned some, I'm always game for any of that. And then waterfalls, I'm a sucker for those. So I don't know if you have any up in Bend. Okay, so I'll take you up on that for sure. But other than that, really just excited to get to Bend, excited to do the comedy festival and meet the local scene as well. We talked a little bit at the start about, you know, how things like this benefit locals. And I would say even if you're, you know, we have a local scene in Bentonville that's not always they don't get into the fest as features, but they glean a lot, and a lot of them get like road gigs just from hanging out and talking to folks. And then I try to introduce folks to as many of those touring headliners as possible. And it's funny, you know, you never know how somebody's career is going to scale or what city they move to next tomorrow. And it's nice to have a baseline understanding of where you might have some friends on that next jump as well. So excited to get to Bend, meet everybody, see your city, and honestly just relax a little bit.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. That was Raj. Follow him online if you want to see which shows he's going to be on here in Bend and all over the country. I also know his tickets are available at the Tower website, so please check it out there. We are so lucky to have so many amazing comedians to sit down and talk with us in such a great scene here in Central Oregon. Please remember, like where you like us, rate where you rate us, click all the buttons. We are a new podcast. All that stuff really does help. We are so grateful for all the support we've had in these first couple months of shows. And honestly, we're just excited to keep bringing you more of Central Oregon's favorite funny faces. Till next time.